Hello class 9, this is Neha Singh and I'm here for the next chapter of your science, that is the fundamental unit of life. It is included in your biology chapter number 5. So let's first focus what we are going to study about in this chapter. The chapter is all about the cell. So we are going to study about what is cell, the first question. Now, who discovered it? Who let us know about the different functions of the cell? Then we are going to study about the cell theories. What are the different theories based upon these cells and who gave them? After that, we are going to study about the different structure of the cells, including nucleus, plasma membrane or the cell membrane, and the different cell organelles, which includes the different cell organelles, which includes plastids, mitochondria, lysosomes, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum. On the basis of all these things, we are going to differentiate about the plant cell as well as the animal cell. So this is all about the mind mapping, about what we are going to study about in this chapter, that is chapter number 5. So now let's begin our chapter to know more about it in details. First, the cell is the basic unit of life. Why we are calling it a basic unit of life? As we already know that First, the cell is the basic unit of life. Why we are calling it a basic unit of life? As we already know that everything around us, if we see, whether it is a house, whether it is a tree, living or non-living thing, they are made up of any small basic unit. Like house is made up of bricks, right? So when the bricks comes together, they'll form a different buildings in which you can live. So basic unit of forming a house that we need is the brick. Similarly, whether it is a living thing or non-living thing, the smallest thing that is need to help them to work properly is there. In living things, it is cell, and non-living thing, it is, you can say that, atoms or the elements. We are going to study about the cell here, the basic unit or the smallest unit of the living organisms. So now, as we know that it is providing the structure as well as giving us the function, that's why we are calling it a structural and functional unit of life. Without the cell, you are not able to do any of the work. If there is any injury, or you can say that is there any defect in the cell, the whole structure or the function of a body can disrupt. So to deal with about all the study of the cell structures, we have a branch of science which we call it a cytology. It is a branch of science in which we study about all the types of cell structures, whether it is an animal cell or a plant cell.
The cell was first discovered by an English scientist, that is Robert Hooke. He discovered the honeycomb-like structure under his crude microscope. This kind of structures like honeycomb, where the bees collect their honeys, and these structure he named them celluli, or we call them cells. And he also mentioned about this in his book that is known as Micrographia. This is the name of the book. Okay, so celluli, what does celluli means here? The celluli means about the little rooms. Little rooms. So he observed the cells which are dead. the cork cells or the wood cells like that. These are the dead cells he observed and find out the honeycomb like structure in them, and he named them as the cells or the celluli, which actually mean the little rooms. Now let's learn more about the cell, the history of cell, right? As we know that the cell cannot be discovered until we know about the microscope. So the first microscope was produced by the Hans and Zacharias Janssen, right, in 15 and 19. About the many discoveries have been done about the physical and the chemical things they watched, but the cell was first watched by the Robert Hooke in 1665. Now, in 1680s, Antony von Leeuwenhoek observed the first time the living cells. Like he observed the saliva, the blood cells, right, plus the algae cells. He observed these cells under his microscope, right, and he was the one who became to observe the first living cells by the simple microscope. After that, many discoveries has been done. Like after that, in 1838, there's a lot of gap between the discoveries, right? And 1839, the two scientists were there, Matthias Sheldon and Theodor Schwann. What they have discovered, they discovered the things independently. Like Sheldon works on the plants and Theodor works on the animals, and by these two scientist theories we can conclude about the plants are made up of cells and the animals are made up of cells. So we can conclude that all living organisms, whether they are plants or animals, they are made up of the cells. After them, the Rudolf Virchow has come, right, and he also introduced some part, like he observed that he concluded that the cells, they are arise from the pre-existing cells, and he also gives the term in his words that omnis cellula e celluli. That means the cells arise from the pre-existing, new cells arise from the pre-existing cells. These are the different scientists who observed all these things, like Robert Hooke, the first discoverer, Antony von Leeuwenhoek, the first living cell discoverer. Sheldon and Schwann gave the cell theory, and this cell theory was extended by the Rudolf Virchow. We are going to study about the cell theory. What does it indicate? What are the basic elements behind this cell theory? Now, as we know that the without microscope we could not lead to the discovery of the cell. So the gadget to study the cell is the microscope was invented in the 17th century, and which led to the discovery of the cell. Robert Hooke described using the light microscope, and this was the microscope which was observed or described by the Robert Hooke, and he also described the cells. After that, nowadays we are using the compound microscope, the electron microscope, and the other types of microscope who's having the high resolutions to observe the things which are very, very minute and very, very small. So they have the platform, mirror, and the lenses and the different objective lenses that magnify and resolute the image into 10 times or the 100 times depending upon the range of the lenses. Now, by all concluding that the cell theory, the components, the three main basic components of the cell theory was, first, all living things are composed of one or more cells, which is given by the Sheldon. He independently work on the plants, and Schwann, he went independently work on the animals, and they gave all together a theory that the all living organism, whether plants or animals, they are made up of cells. And according to them, they have given one more theory about them. This is the basic structure and function in all living things. because they provide the functions, they are providing the structure as well. After that, in 1858, Rudolf Virchow has come and they give the another idea about the cell, that the all cells come from the pre-existing cells. So we need to study more about it, right? So let's begin more about it. Now we can observe the different shape of the cells and the size of the cells of the different cells, right? They are different, right? They are not a single cell, they are similar of size or the shape. They can be of different shapes. Some they can change their shape, not able to change their shape, like amoeba. It can change their shape according to the environment while they engulfing the food. You know about the amoeba, right? So some cells are spherical in shape, round, elongated, spindle shaped, or the branched shape. You can see here the amoeba, it is here. That is the elongated nerve cell. They are the spindle shaped structures of the different cells. The various cells in the human body, even the human body is not having a single type of cell. The cells are of different shape. Why they are having a different shape? Because they have to perform a different function. Depending upon the function, they have the different shape, right? They are not having a constant or the common shape, right? So you can see here the blood cell, they are rounded, nerve cell elongated, ovum round, spherical, fat cell round, spherical. Here bone cell, and this is sperm cell, thread-like structure, right? So these all are the different cells having the different shape because they have to perform the different functions. And then what about the size of the cells? The size of the cells vary depending upon how much the cells are there in them. Like you can clearly see here the blue whale and the human, mouse and frog egg. You can see easily these kind of cells. You can see easily with your naked eyes, human eyes, right? You do not need any special instrument to see all these things, but these are cells. In them, the different types of cells, like if we want to study about the cell, we now we are using the microscope to study about the cell which are present in them, right? Like here human egg, plant and animal cell, bacterial cell, chloroplast. If we want to know about it, we need a microscope here. Kind of microscope, the light microscope. And if we want to further learn about their basics, function, structural unit, the smallest thing, that is the atoms, amino acid, proteins, viruses, we need a different type of microscope here, that is the electron microscope. So depending upon the size of the cell, we need a different types of the things. The smallest size can be 0.1 nanometer, or we can say that we generally measure the cell in micron unit, that is mu, right? That is mu. And 1 micrometer and 1 nanometer, generally we use it micron, or we can use it in the angstrom unit also. 1 angstrom is equals to 10 raised to the power minus 10 meter. So now you can see that the smallest cell could be how much, it could be very, very small. So we need a special type of instrument to watch them. Here the human scales are there, in which you can observe the different types of animals or the structure. The biological scales, it is also defined, in which you need a special instrument to watch them. For example, the microscope. Now it is till now we have studied about the theory, who discovered the cell, what is the basic unit, and why we are studying the cell, right? But depending upon the how many number of cells present in any organism, the organisms can be divided into 2 categories, right? The first category is unicellular organism, and the second category is the multicellular organism. right? So uni means one, means if an organism is made up of only one cell, or the organism that have only one cell on the basis of which they have to perform every function of their body, right? Like they have to respire through it, they have to do the excretion as well, right? So all the activities of the life, they need to do it with the only one cell, so their lifespan is relatively very short. Unicellular organism, for example, amoeba, bacteria, paramecium. On the other hand, multicellular organism, the organism which is made up of large number of cells, maybe two or more than two, right? So they are specialized cells to perform various functions, means or not all the responsibilities are not only on the one cell, they have different types of cells, so every cell perform their own functions. So generally the relatively lifespan of the multicellular organism is more. So multicellular organism shows all the types of reactions, or all the types of activities of the life, like translocation, synthesis, reproduction. They have different kinds of cells for them. So different multicellular organism here are plants or the animals. Till now we have discussed the discovery or the history of cell. In the next video we are going to study about the more detail the structure of the cell. Till then, take care and have a good day. Thank you so much everyone for listening.